government actually gives predictions, and then these predictions are to send warnings to people, particularly those who live in flood-prone areas. Now, these predictions would actually prepare everyone for the rains, as a matter of fact. This morning we have the Commissioner for Environment in Ogun State, Dr. ORESANYA, and he's going to be telling us what the predictions as far as the rainfall for this year is all about, and what plans are actually on the way to ensure that whatever flood that may happen will not really be damaging. In the past, we've had floods that actually destroyed properties, lives, and the rest of them. But of course, hopefully this year, efforts will be put in place to ensure that whatever flood experience we are going to be having would actually not really be damaging to either lives or property. So we have him in the studio, we have him joining us via Zoom, and then in the next couple of minutes we are going to be looking at this. It's a pleasure having you join us in this conversation, Dr. ORESANYA. I'm sure you can hear us. Yes.
Thank you very much. Yes, I can hear you.
Now, during your press briefing that you did sometimes last week, you said that this year we might actually be having rainfall intensities ranging from 965 mm to 1,805 mm. Now, help us make sense of these. What are you really saying in practical terms about the intensity of the rainfall this year?
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for having me. The rainfall of those figures that I gave, they were given to us by NIMET, and those figures given by NIMET shows that we're going to have a very high rainfall intensity this year, early rain in Ogun State. The average rainfall per day, per month, should normally be like about 40 mm for dry season. And but for wet season, the peak of wet season, like around July, you're going to have something close to 400 mm times 10 of what you normally have in other months. Talking about number of days, you're going to have rain in the month. For example, July, when we're expecting the highest, for the 30 or 31 days in July, we're going to have rainfall at about 28 days in July, and that shows a high intensity. So that tells you where those figures is an indicator of the level of rainfall we should be expecting this year in Ogun State, and that's the figure we're looking at.
Okay, you're welcome, Dr. ORESANYA. Now, let's talk about Ogun State now. Let's bring all this prediction from NIMET to Ogun State and domesticate how we can mitigate against all of the maybe unforeseen damages that we think it could bring. Let's talk about the areas now. Which of these areas in Ogun State do you think should start preparing now? Because for March, we have started seeing rains almost every day since last week. So which areas do you think should start relocating? Where are they going to relocate to? And how prepared is the Ministry of Environment on this relocation?
Well, let me explain better. It is not general for everybody.
Okay.
It's specific for certain areas in Ogun State where they're going to have what we call the coastal flooding or river flooding. And that will be coming up in the month of between September and October, most especially October this year. And it's going to be just for about 2 or 3 weeks where we're going to have this coastal flood. And the coastal flood is going to be like a retention of rain water, and the retention will be caused by the high tide from the sea, from the lagoon. that will lock the Ogun River from discharging speedily into it. The velocity of flow of that river will reduce because there will be a rise in the level, the tide will increase. It will go from probably about the average tidal fluctuation daily goes from between 0.5 meters to 0.8 meters daily. In the night it goes higher, in the day you have a lower tide. But in the month of October, September ending to October, we're going to have a very high rise in the sea level. It can go as much as about 3.5 meters in the night. That's the level the sea will rise. And it will go lower like about 2 meters during the day. So that will lock the flow of Ogun River into the lagoon. And the residents around the floodplain where this water is supposed to be detained naturally, there's a natural area where that water must stay before the tide will go down and it will flow. So most of our people who are living around those areas are the ones that will actually have to elevate or relocate. There's an option. You either elevate yourself before the rain comes, or because the water will be detained in those areas and it will rise to almost like about 2 meters, 2.5 meters around Isheri area, Isheri, Alagbole, all those areas. The level of water that will be detained will rise to almost like about 2 meters to 2.5 meters in those areas, and it will stay for about 2 or 3 weeks. Before now, it will normally stay for like about 6 weeks, but because of the work we've been doing in that community, the detention time for this water will reduce, has reduced anyway last year, and this year we hope to do more to make sure that the detention time for this natural event will also reduce. But by and large, our people in that area, we need to advise them, we need to give them an alert. Relocation could mean go on holiday. People could just put their things above the normal, the ground level, and that's the time they want to go and let the children go and greet their grandparents for about 2 weeks, and you go on holiday yourself, and then you come back, and the water will have retreated back into the lagoon. So that's just what it is. But those who don't have anywhere to go, we already have an arrangement for them with our State Emergency Management Agency, the SEMA. And we have an arrangement with faith-based organizations. And those faith-based organizations, most of them have their hostels they are not using. They use those hostels maybe twice or thrice a year. So within that period, we already have an arrangement with many of them. And we did last year, and the last 2 years, they've been supporting us with providing those accommodations, temporary accommodations for our people that have been displaced during that period. So that's the arrangement.
Okay, but Doctor, let's stay with you a little more on the relocation and looking at the permanent solution. Are we saying in Ogun State, some areas like Isheri has been on board almost every year? Yes, from 6, you said normally it is 6 weeks, but now we will be having like 2 weeks for their relocation or vacation of their property. Now, can we have a permanent, is it possible for the ministry or the government to provide a permanent solution so that year in, year out, people won't leave their houses, won't leave their property to relocate or find somewhere to stay? Is it possible?
Yes, very possible. There is no problem without solution, and we already mapped out the solution for those areas. What we're doing right now is a kind of a temporary, is a mitigation program that we're done already. What we needed to do before settlement in those areas were not done. So we're just trying to manage the problem we have inherited, and this part of governance grown as a continuum. So the mistake of the past government, we have to adapt with it. We have to correct, and we have a social contract with our people to make sure their well-being is not jeopardized. And that's exactly what we're doing. So there's nowhere you cannot live. If you can live on the sea, Look at Lagos, the Atlantic City in Lagos. That's right inside water. And but you are doing the needful. There's a rule of engagement for you to live in those areas. So Lagos Atlantic, they are dredging to almost 10 meters above the level of the water. That's what you have out there. And people are building, huge investments are going on there because you have done due diligence. Most of these are areas, you have a lot of beautiful estates in that area without information. Okay, they did not do the due diligence, knowing fully well what is the tidal fluctuation. If you are going to build in a floodplain, there's a level which you elevate. For example, the Sherry area, if anybody is going to build there now, I'll advise you, go and build there, make sure your road is at about 3.5 meters, and your building is at about 4 meters above the datum. If you can do that, fine, you can live there permanently. But many of our people, they're already operating at lower level. And we have a proof of concept in that area. We go and see some roads that have been constructed there at about 3 meters. No matter what the flood in that area, the water never gets to the top of the road in those communities because they've elevated the road. And the buildings have to be elevated also. So there's nowhere you cannot live, okay? And you can live there peacefully if you pay the right thing. So on that side, the medium-term issues is to dredge the OGUN River itself, make sure that the holding capacity of that river is improved. And that has to be done with the Ogun State government, Lagos State government, and the federal government to champion it. It's a huge investment that has to be done. If you look at the Thames River in the UK, it's something like Ogun River, transverses the entire city. London, all right? And it's the same thing, Ogun River transverses the entire state of the entire state. So we can have a nice embankment that can be even used for recreational purpose. Dredge that river, create a higher elevation and a higher embankment there, and navigate even that river. So that river is navigable. But these are medium, long-term solutions. But the solutions are there. So we only need to have the finance, have to have the commitment, both at the federal and the state levels to move on. But what we can do to give a kind of palliative approach to soothe the pain now is to make sure that we open more tributaries, which we are doing right now. We are opening more tributaries of Ogun River. Okay, Ogun River collects water from some tributaries and discharges through some tributaries. So the tributaries where Ogun River discharges its water, we are opening up those areas. And one of them is the one that we did last year, which is the Okparo River. Okay. And because we opened up the Okparo River, the retention time for the water in that area reduced last year. And we are doing more of that this year. And when we continue with that, that will give a relief for our people. But that does not stop the underground water saturation. Even your house in that area, you'll be seeing a kind of a wet mold in your foundation because there's a natural saturation in that area, and the roads still have to be elevated in that area for you to live, enjoyably, to enjoy your livelihood in that area. So it's possible. There is no problem with that solution.
Okay. Now, it means that what those who are in that corridor, that Isheri corridor, what they are going through during the rainy season is self-inflicted. So let's look at other behaviors that we as human beings, we indulge in that are hazardous to our environment and subject us to things like these floods and other damaging effects to the environment.
Yes, that habit that we do, and I think one thing is flood, comes as a result of a high rainfall, and the rain, when you have a high rainfall in a short time, there will be what we call the flash flood, and the flood must find its way. If you don't obstruct the flood path, it must find its way out of that area. But when you now start blocking the path of the rainwater, then you start having a man-made flood. And disposing refuse inside the drainage is one of the bad habits for people, and that was what caused a major devastation in Ogun State about 6 years ago or 7 years ago, when you had this massive flood that killed many people around the Amolasho area, around the Isaliake and the rest of it, because people were dumping refuse on the road, and when rain came, the rain washed their refuse, blocked all the tunnels, and the water went to people's houses and destroyed their houses and killed a lot of people around that time in Abeokuta. But because we have been able to put in an institution that is focused on refuse collection, we've never had such a thing again in that area. Other habits of that we do is the habit of deliberately building on the drainage channels. Dry season, you find on a Munile that will look at the dry area and say, oh, you come and buy this land. And because the unsuspecting buyers will see that, look, oh, this is a cheap land, you buy it. Those lands, they come very cheap in dry season, only for you to find out when the rainy season has gone, they've only sold the drainage channel for you. And definitely, it will cause not just problem for yourself, but some people upstream. That is one thing. Then another thing that we've been doing, and this concerns our government also, is that many of our areas, you find out that naturally, when rain falls, part of that rain must percolate, that is, must penetrate the soil, okay, to go down naturally and recharge underground water. Most of these areas, we build them up, concrete everywhere. So what now happens is that rather than the water penetrating the soil, you now have a huge volume of water that must find its way out. Then the velocity of that water becomes higher, and the water will be finding its way how to get out of the area. So these are part of the problems, and that means that for building approval, we must always leave a space where water can actually percolate. Put green. That is why we have a policy now with the Ministry of Physical Planning, is that they will give you approval, 25% of your space must be green, so that water can percolate, so that you don't have to discharge too much water, storm water into the drains. All right, that is one other critical area. During construction time, many of us will pour our aggregate on the road, and when you are building and you don't collect the aggregate, we don't clean even our drainage channel. And by the time the rain comes like this now, you now have a problem. The other one that part of the habit that we do is in the area of when government is now, when you move into a new community and you're already taking your own levels, you build your house without looking at the level where the secondary channel, the road level, will be. By the time the government come and do the road in your community, the road is already higher than your house. So discharge. So from your street, you will not be able to discharge into the secondary channel of government. You now have funding. And most of those communities, they've been crying to us, and we've been trying to help them out. But before you build your house, get information. Where is the road level for this area? So that you build above the road level. If you don't build above the road level, you always have a problem. And at the end of the day, by the time the government is coming to develop the road in the estate, new roads will now cause new problem, and that is a problem of flood.
Now, so much really in terms of negative behaviors we indulge in as a people, which have negative effects on our environment. How much of advocacy do you carry out in ensuring that people are properly informed? I mean, because a lot of the times it is this lack of information that makes people to err and then to make such mistakes. Now, how much of advocacy really as your ministry embarked upon to really see that people are informed, take the right decision and the right steps, so that they don't make their environment dangerous to them?
Well, generally, when it comes to public awareness program, you can learn in two ways. There are two ways to learn. You can learn either by persuasion or you can learn by coercion. All right, there are two ways to learn. You can learn by whether you voluntarily comply because you're persuaded to do the right thing, or if you are just recalcitrant, there's a system that will get you coerced, then you will land in a very, very bad way. So for us, persuasion is what we've been doing. And we've started with all these alerts. I'm glad you heard about the alert we gave. Annually, we're part of the states in Nigeria that always give our flood alert early enough for our people, and we give in Mazon batch, so that, and this alert does not stop at the state level. All the chairmen of the local government, every local government chairman is supposed to now domesticate that alert. NIMET gave the national alert. We gave our own quickly in Ogun State because we are concerned with the well-being of our people. We don't want lamentation from flood in Ogun State. Okay, we want people to enjoy the rainy season and plan their. A lot of people are looking forward towards rain in Ogun State because Ogun State is an agrarian. We have an agrarian economy in Ogun State. A lot of agri products we are looking forward to. So we make sure we give this information to all the local governments to disseminate at their local government, and I'm going to follow up with many of them. Then secondly, our agri experts, Minister of Agri are supposed to distill this information for farmers, because farmers, they need this rainfall pattern, the weather forecast to plan for their planting season. And those who are going to livestock farming by the riverside, they will know when to harvest, or especially the fish farmers. We'll be giving them information that by end of August, harvest all your fishes from the pond, so that you leave the pond area because of the river flooding that will come. So for those that need to know, yes, we're giving them. And for the general public, we also expect local government through the CDAs to tell our people, making sure that you don't go out when you have this flash flood. In the early flood of April, there's going to be a lot of flood in the month of April, May, June, and July in particular. When you have this heavy water, heavy rainfall, stay back. Give it 1 or 2 hours, the water will resink, and you can now move out. So people need to know this. And we don't want people to land by coercion or by bitter experience. It's better people listen and listen very well. We are on several media outlets to make sure that we disseminate this information to our people also. Mass information.
All right, Dr. ORESANYA, let's talk about waste disposal. The other time we spoke about people disposing waste in their drainages, and in turn it causes a lot of problems, not allowing the water to flow properly. How do you want people to dispose their waste? In some areas here, especially in Abeokuta, where we are operating from, you see waste almost at every point, almost at every junction. Is it the liberty of the people to drop their waste there, or is the government is just giving them leeway to ensure that the management of this waste is easy? What should the people do now that the rains are here? The waste is one of the bad factors that would do damage if it is not properly taken care of. Should we continue with the habit of dropping waste at the junctions of our roads?
Well, I think in Ogun State, we've gone beyond that, those bad habits, especially in the Abeokuta area, with the strategy we put in place earlier, where we have some containers on the road, to actually at least support our people. But recently we had a kind of an experiment that's been performed by the new henchman at OGUN, to see, because this thing is costing the government a lot of money, to be candid. And let's see how we can push these waste back to the doorstep of our people, and let our PSP collect the waste at the doorstep. But I think we're going to press our reset button almost any time from now to make sure that if we can move forward, we better do what we're doing before to make sure that we give our people relief. So I think I will just stop at that level.
Okay. All right. Now, the prediction of NIMET came very early, and Ogun State is swinging into action to also ensure that preparation are on ground, people are informed, properties will be saved when it eventually comes. How often do you think this prediction helps in mitigating against damages and all that? How often will this prediction by your ministry will help the farmers, property owners? How often do you think you want to do this orientation and telling people this prediction is real, do this, and how periodic do you want to do that?